baseball season, when a team is doing very poorly in the first few weeks, and that is that it's a marathon, not a sprint, because there are 162 games. Well, that's even more true about climate change policy and climate change. It is a marathon, not a sprint. The first reason is scientifically, it's a stock, not a flow environmental problem. It's the accumulated greenhouse gases in the atmosphere which cause damages, not the emissions in every year. Secondly, economically, all the analysis I know of except one, so I'm talking about dozens and dozens except one of the analysis, indicates that the cost-effective time path to taking serious action involves a gradual ramp-up of severity of targets, obviously in order to avoid rendering large parts of the capital stock prematurely obsolete when you're dealing with a stock problem. And then third, everyone recognizes that massive amounts of technological change are going to be necessary in order to deal with this problem at all, let alone cost effectively. And therefore, long-term price signals, as the commissioner said, carbon prices are going to be essential, long-term signals. Private industry doesn't make decisions on the basis of today's prices, but on the expectation of prices over the life of the investment that's being carried out. And then finally, administratively, it's become increasingly clear that the creation of durable international institutions is going to be essential to address the problem. So what does that suggest in terms of perspective? It suggests to me that international climate negotiations are going to be an ongoing process, much like the way we think about trade talks, as opposed to a single task that has a clear endpoint. Oh, we're going to fix the problem in Copenhagen. Oh, we're going to fix it in Cancun, or the following year in South Africa. The bottom line is that a sensible goal going into Copenhagen last year for the negotiations was progress on a sound foundation for meaningful long-term action, not some notion of immediate success, even though that is more likely to produce good photo opportunities. Now, it turned out that what came out of Copenhagen was actually some good photo opportunities for heads of state and the beginning of what I would call a foundation for long-term significant action. And that's because the Copenhagen Accord, which the commissioner referred to, has in it a number of elements which are important, but one of which, for those who have followed and worked on climate change international policy, are very familiar with, and that is this distinction which we have between the Annex 1 and the non-Annex 1 countries. The countries that take action, or at least pledge to take action, and those that do not. And that distinction, even though it was not eliminated in the Accord, began to blur. And for the first time, as the commissioner said, China and India and other emerging economies noted publicly that they shared responsibility for addressing the problem, even if they did not share the lion's, they didn't have the lion's share